If you did not catch the heated debate that took place yesterday on the PBD podcast, there is a short clip. Maybe we could include the short clip in the link of the description so people can go watch it at a later date. But if you did miss, the conversation broke down, the original article was an argument about women quitting marriage. It was a report by the Wall Street Journal that talked about how women no longer feel the need to be married and that they feel more empowered today than ever before. And a large majority of women have given up on marriage as a hope or something that they want. And it became a weird argument that I was not expecting. In fact, it was the last topic of yesterday's PBD podcast episode. Normally, that's a quick, hey, we're just going to cover this and then end the show. We ended up going an additional 20 minutes. The short clip ended up being 40 minutes long. But the debate became, was Adam being a victim and claiming that women today are nothing but hoes on OnlyFans? Or was there actual legitimacy to his argument that there are no good women out there anymore? And what it became was Adam being the victim? Or was he right? And I want to talk to you guys about that. Let's see, who's single on this podcast?
Me.
So two.
In case you were wondering.
It's Stevie too.
Okay, so you're
dating.
Yes. You're married, and I am in flux. So it's true. So look, it's been a long time for me to be in the dating. The last time I dated, apps weren't a thing. That's how long it's been. So there was no Tinder. There was no hookup culture. It was still, like back then, we didn't even Netflix and chill because Netflix, you had to get the DVD sent to you. That's how long I have been out of the game. So for Adam to make the comments about all these chicks are hoes and this is what happens with this hookup culture and because of OnlyFans, there are no good girls available. For me, I can't speak to whether there's truth to that because I've not been in the dating scene. I can tell you that from the experiences that I have with women through work, none of the women that I meet have OnlyFans.
You sure?
There's some of them I wish would.
Would you care to name those coworkers in front of the camera, Rob?
I don't because one of them's running the computer. And sorry, Natalia, it's the truth. There is, but
I told you.
None of the girls that I've met that work here are anything like what Adam described. And so for me, it's like, from my existence, from my experience, I can't see that being true. I believe that there are good women out there that are still single. I just think that Adam's not in the right places to meet them. But to the single people on the panel, and then we'll go to the non-single people on the panel, Brandon, you specifically, you're in the dating scene. Are you looking at this point for the Mrs. Brandon Aceto, or are you looking for the Mrs. right now?
Both. So I am, I'm in the trenches, you're correct. So I
Don't call it a trench.
How can you be looking for both? That's such a non-answer.
Well, because like if I would love to find a great girl that wants to have 10 kids with me and, have the same values as me and everything. But also, I'm not like dead set on that to where I'm like only looking for that. I still am down to like hang out and have a good time and everything. So it's like simultaneous. Is that the craziest thing to say?
I don't think you can do that. My intention is to find my husband. And if I'm distracted by thing 1, thing 2, and thing 3, I'm not going to find my husband because I'm accepting something that's not worth my time. And I'm taking away from the time and value that I would be having with somebody that could be my full-time partner.
I get that, but it's like it's a different thing for guys and girls to have like short-term relationships. Like I feel like guys almost need that, but like girls, it's almost not healthy for them to have short-term relationships from a mental standpoint.
I disagree. So that kind of goes into my reaction to yesterday's podcast because I was listening to Adam and I'm like, I wish I was on the show because I wanted to be like, I think all the men are hoes because not every person, but a lot of them that I date are just looking for that hookup culture, which I am not about. And so it's been very difficult for me to find someone, especially in this area. Usually I go to church and everybody's married, or usually I go to, I won't go out at clubs at like 10 o'clock at night to like find a guy because it's the hookup culture thing.
Yeah.
So it's been difficult. But then Pat said something and I was like, yes. And then there were all these tangents, and I was like, "What are we talking about?" I definitely that's Patrick texting.
Oh my God, is he watching?
So just so you know, that's the pat signal that goes through no matter what. So that's why I do have it on do not disturb mode. But I mean, go ahead,
So
though.
yeah, so that's my thing. When I am dating right now, I'm on dating apps. I'm trying. I've also met people in person, just naturally, like going out. I've met someone at a library, I've met someone at a grocery store, but I'm not looking for something that's right now. I'm looking for my husband. And I think if I were to distract from that, then I would be one of those girls that Adam was talking about if I accept something that's not worth my time.
Well, and if you go to, if I'm going to a butcher shop, what am I going to be surrounded by? Meat.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to clubs and you're hanging out and you're looking
Such a good
to
analogy.
party, which is what Adam was, that was Pat's argument, is it's where you're at, both in life, but also physically, that's limiting your potential to meet these women who could be a lifelong mate. And I'm not saying that every person that goes to clubs is an OnlyFans model, but I'm guaranteeing you're not going to meet the same caliber of woman at a club that you would meet at church or at a library. I don't think Adam's going to those places looking for women. I think he's going to clubs looking for women. And when you're going to meat factories, don't be surprised when all you see is meat. Taylor, you're in a relationship now, but you were
Yes.
single before. As a female, what was your takeaway from the conversation yesterday? Was Adam being a victim or was Adam in the right?
Well, I would say controversial maybe to Adam and how he was blaming women. I actually think the blame would go to men. And let me make my point. If these women are all being OnlyFans, they're making millions of dollars, who is paying for that? Who is funding that? The only way they make billions or millions of dollars is the men that are paying for it, right? And at the end of the day, society is, and I actually think both of them made points, but relevance to it, Adam lives in Miami, right? It's a different in Miami than Fort Lauderdale, than Michigan, where I grew up. It's just it's a different beast, right? Hollywood, Miami, they're different things, and who's there and the lifestyle there. However, if you go to society and the foundation of society, it comes from, and if you want marriage, if you want a strong society, it comes from strong men. And in a society that is 100% factual, more women are in the workforce, right? More women are in professional careers. And that's something that, as much as you can have both, though, you can still have a family life and do that part. And I think there's good examples of that, like Candace Owens and other people in that are doing both. However, it means, and unfortunately, and you guys can disagree with me or not, it means men are going to have to compete at a higher level. They are going to have to raise their standards of how they do what they do themselves, how they think, how they act, because now they are competing for stronger women in those certain circumstances. So, hate to break it to you, men, I think it comes back to you.
That's a byproduct, though, of where society is right now. Like, you're totally right, but that's never going to be all of men or the majority of men. Like, a lot of men are going to rise to the occasion, but it's going to be like, 30, 40% maybe at best. And the 60.
But that's always it, right? That's society. It's survival of the fittest. You even think of Jordan Peterson would talk about those lobsters all the time that would fight each other. The top percentile, they always get the most women. That's just, I mean, I think it's just part of life.
It is like a shock factor, though, from now to compared to like the 1950s, where like just a guy could work and you could have a house, a couple cars.
Yeah, but look how much
vacations.
is different from today as opposed to the 1950s. So it's not just when it comes to women. Maybe that's the evolution of humanity, is that we start with, okay, women were homemakers. Then it went to women in the workforce. Maybe it becomes cyclical where it goes back. Because I'll tell you personally, like one of the reasons I love my wife is because the person I was when I met her is not the person I am today. She's made me a stronger man. She's made me, but that's part of me wanting to match her expectations, right? It's not like she's materialistic in any way, but the more that we're together, the better of the life that I want to give her. So the harder I'm going to try, the more money I'm going to make, the better her life becomes, the more accustomed she becomes to the nice things that I'm giving her, which then puts us in this scenario where she's not saying that she wants materialistic things, but I'm feeling the obligation to be able to provide. So it makes me try harder. It makes me push further. I think women have that ability when they're with a man to make them better. Just like men have the opportunity to make women better. We bring each other up. We empower each other. I don't think you're ever going to find that in this hookup culture, because that hookup culture isn't about finding a lifelong mate that you're going to experience life with and then grow in many ways, not just emotionally, but physically. But like, there's so many ways that you grow in a relationship. You're never going to have that in the hookup culture. But if you're looking for a mate that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, you're going to build a better life together. That's instantaneous. It starts the second that you meet, the second that you start going, oh, this is a person that I actually have a future with and we can build towards something. you're not going to meet, and I hate to say it, you're not going to meet that at a club when you're trying to buy 2-for-1 drinks on ladies' nights. Like, that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Where do you guys think are the best places to find that stuff? Because I do agree it is. It's easy to have a hookup, but it's not easy to find somebody that you connect with and feel like you want to build something with.
Well, I would say there's like obviously a few different areas, but we work for a great company with a great community. So I think we actually have an edge for anyone in this room, Brandon, Kelly, because we work with people who have shared values, shared principles. A lot of entrepreneurs are like that ecosystem. The more people you're around, I think the best way is through referrals. Like, what I mean by that is people that know each other, right? A lot of my friends got married through friends that know friends that got married. And so I think part of that is where you are. It's church. It's asking, who do you know? I think Patrick makes a good point of, if you're looking for someone, tell everyone who you're looking for, because they probably know someone. So I think you have to let people know who you're looking for. Surround yourself with that. We have a great ecosystem of that. And just to your point, Rob, I would say, even though I blame men for it, I think women, we haven't seen the reaction or the response to how miserable a lot of these women are going to be. It just hasn't been enough time to realize that those on OnlyFans or those who are having sex with like 1,000 men in one day or whatever that one woman is, I don't think we've seen the repercussions of what that's going to do, like psychologically.
Well, if you look at, there's a whole documentary called After Porn Ends, and it's all of these former porn stars from the 90s and 2000s talking about the detrimental effects that the adult industry had on them. And so I think there's versions of that already exist, just not the difference between pornography in the 90s and 2000s and pornography today is this thing right here, your phone. It went from you had to actually be signed with a studio and get tested and I'm not trying to defend the porn industry. I'm trying to explain the porn industry because as a consumer, I know a lot about it. So it went from you actually had to have some qualifications to be in those films to now you can just film it on your phone, upload it to your OnlyFans, and there's perverts whacking it in the parking lot looking at their phone to it. So I think the evolution of pornography hasn't been explored yet as to how it affects, because there are women out there that are using OnlyFans, like that Sophia Rain chick.
Yeah.
She doesn't have sex on camera,
right,
but she's making millions of dollars from posing in cute outfits. Is that pornography? Is that wrong? Is she going to end up not being able to find a mate because of it? I think there's a difference between her and what she's doing on there and a girl that is, what was the other girl that we mentioned yesterday? Riley Reid. That girl was actively involved in pornographic films. Those are two very different women who I'm not justifying either one, but again, it's two different outcomes. One is not showing every orifice of her body to guys. She's showing select nudity, if even nudity. I don't know if she gets naked. Does Sophia Rain get naked on her OnlyFans?
I think on special chats with the dudes, because supposedly
Super chat?
That's going to be totally different outcome for that girl than the girl who was in 1,000 films, banged 1,000 dudes in one day. Clearly that woman, in my opinion, has some sort of trauma she's not dealing with, and she's going to have a whole different outcome from her career than a girl like Sophia Rain, who is not having sex on film, but is doing provocative photography. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I was going to say with that, like she still claims to be a virgin and a devout Christian. So you can tell that even with whatever Sophie Rain is doing on her OnlyFans, there's something deeply wrong there too, because...
Which one is she? She's the one that's doing just the photos and cute outfits?
Yeah, and it's like, clearly she's engaging in some kind of pornographic material, and I would argue, as I have before, that part of why she's making so much money is because OnlyFans is actually a massive money laundering operation, but we'll get into that another time. But to bring it home from my own experience... My wife and I got married in 2021, and let me just tell you, looking at the dating market right now, it feels like I caught the last chopper out of Saigon to be in a relationship right now, because it's rough out there for everybody. And I agree with what you guys alluded to in that the place to find people that are actual quality marriage material is probably the one place Adam isn't looking, which is church.
It's so hard though. Everybody has a family. Everybody's married. I'm like, hi.
Well, that's because you're looking at and talking to all the people with families. I have been in church my entire life, and at no point have I ever seen. Okay, well, let me explain what I mean, because I get why it's difficult for you.
Also, I'm there for God. Yeah. I'm like focusing on the message and whatever. I'm not looking around like, oh, he's cute. Oh, he's cute. Like I feel like I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah, I've been in church my entire life. At no point, except for in the last couple years, have I ever seen this kind of saturation of people with no viable partner in the church. And it's almost exclusively women. Every church I've gone to, including the one I go to now, has primarily single women who are ready for marriage and no men who are able to match that.
Really?
Now you could make the argument, women have too high standards. They puff themselves up too much. They're looking for some guy who's 6'6" making $400K a year, which is like a vanishingly small.
Need that.
But that's exactly the point. The other problem is that churches are no longer a place that encourages masculine men to step up and lead and be the kind of person who is many of them. That's the problem. Churches are now actively driving men away by not encouraging them to embrace godly biblical masculinity. And instead, they're going to guys like Andrew Tate and to a much lesser extent, Adam Sosnick, to look for
much lesser extent.
a different definition of masculinity that makes them feel empowered, feel like they have a role to play in society, and it's giving them the wrong values, just propagating the problem. Because suddenly they're at clubs looking for women who are looking to hook up. The women are there looking for all the most masculine men they can find, which are in the clubs, but those men don't care about them. They're just there to hook up. And it feeds and feeds and feeds. Part of the problem is that people who live that lifestyle are all terminally online. I would argue that there is not that much more of that kind of thing going on now than there was in the past. You just see a lot more of it. It's all over the internet. Every Instagram page and YouTube channel, it's all dedicated to stuff like this. People talk about it. People do podcasts discussing these kind of relationships. You didn't used to hear about it, but there was always that element of society. Might be bigger than it was before, but more people engage in it. So when Adam says, it's so hard to be out there because every girl has an OnlyFans. Not true in the slightest.
I don't even know a girl personally with an OnlyFans.
And 100% of them don't
I would
have
say
OnlyFans.
a vanishingly small percentage of women out there run OnlyFans or engage in pornography or even run around just engaging in hookup culture. But when you're in a Miami nightclub and constantly online, it might seem that way because it gives you a false consensus. People that kind of need to wake up and realize there's more to life than just what's happening on the internet.
Yeah, I think ultimately we always look at the symptoms versus the root cause of many of these things. I mean, when you think of getting away from biblical principles, getting away from strong men, if you look at most of our parents, I'm sure we're all sitting in a room where at least one of their parents are divorced. Mine are. So we come from also a society where that didn't work out very well. And so it probably affected the way we think and approach those things. And when you take out the Bible from that as well, there was no foundation to lean on. So we're looking at the symptoms of a very deeper root cause of what I think is causing what we're seeing today.
So real quick, let's go around the room. Because the audience right now, who was right? PBD versus Adam. I'll give you the results of the poll after I hear from everybody here in the room. But Kelly, who was right? Adam or Pat?
PBD.
Connor.
Yeah, like I said before the show started, I'll be damned before I go on camera and say Adam was right about anything. So PBD 100%.
Okay. Brandon.
Yeah, definitely Pat.
And Taylor?
I would agree with Pat as well.
Okay, well, you guys would agree with the audience because the audience, 68% of the voters said that PBD was right. 32% said that Adam was right. So it looks like PBD wins on that one. So, all right, well, we didn't
Values and principles won.
Yeah, we didn't fix the problem.
No.
The hookup culture is still going to exist, but at least we discussed it.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.